Corporal Dylan Marola, Marine Corps Lance Corporal Karim McCaul, Marine Corps Corporal Dagan Page, Marine Corps Sergeant Johanny Rosario Picardo, Marine Corps Corporal Humberto A. Sanchez, Marine Corps Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz, and Navy Petty Officer 3rd Class Maxton Soviak. Before we start, I'd like to take a pause for a moment of silence in remembrance of them. Thank you. These men and women were Marines, soldiers, and sailors. They were Americans. They were patriots. They were heroes. But to you, they were more than that. They were your sons, your daughters, your hearts. And they were ripped away from you in an act of violence halfway around the world. As a father of 5, I cannot begin to imagine your pain and suffering. Yet 2 years later, we are still here seeking answers. How did this happen? What went wrong? Why couldn't this tragedy have been prevented? These questions remain unanswered because this administration wants to sweep what happened under the rug. They know they bear the brunt of the blame, and they want to escape any accountability. Well, I will not let that happen. For months, the president's own generals and intelligence community warned that withdrawing all U.S. troops would result in a catastrophe. Our NATO allies begged the president to reconsider. When he refused to relent, both Republicans and Democrats in Congress urged the president to prepare for this ill-advised, unconditional withdrawal from Afghanistan. This was a disgraceful surrender to the Taliban. Through my investigation, we've learned that President Biden's own State Department and Department of Defense warned of increased violence that threatened the safety of our embassy and American citizens. In February 2021, before the president announced his decision to unconditionally withdraw all troops, the regional security officer at the embassy warned that there was a, quote, clear sign that violence in Kabul has risen sharply over the last 45 days. In May of 2021, DoD began planning for a non-combatant evacuation operation, also known as a NEO, stating that conditions in Afghanistan were rapidly approaching the point of triggering the NEO execution. But the State Department, the lead federal agency for a NEO, failed to request one from the Department of Defense. And they only did so after the fall of Kabul. There's an old adage, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This was the utmost failure. And on June 14, 2021, the embassy's regional security officer again warned of an increase in violence, noting that there was 325% increase in attacks from the same time in the previous year, largely due to the unprecedented Taliban attacks in the country. Yet President Biden ignored all of it. And as a result, the world watched the horrors unfold at the Kabul airport. People falling from airplanes, innocent women and children being beaten and killed by the Taliban attempting to escape to freedom. And your sons and daughter witnessed this. And then the unthinkable happened, a bombing at Abbey Gate, killing 13 U.S. service members and injuring 45 more. Before this committee, Sergeant Tyler Vargas Andrews, who is here today, and Tyler, we want to thank you for being here, testified that Marine snipers at Abbey Gate spotted the suicide bomber before the explosion. Yet they were told by their superiors that they could not engage the threat, were not given permission to engage. The terrorist responsible for this horrific attack was released by the Taliban from a prison at Bagram Air Base, which the Biden administration abandoned. And in fact, thanks to the investigative work of Jerry Dunleavy and James Hassan, we learned the Biden administration asked the Taliban to raid an ISIS-K location near the airport ahead of the bombing that was believed to be a staging ground for an imminent attack on the airport. Not surprisingly, the Taliban did not agree. We also know that the U.S. military officials sought to strike an ISIS-K.